Hi, I'm Roy Collin, and I'm the creator of the podcast. You can find everything about me and the five podcasts on bio.link/podcaster, and you'll find it in the QR code there. I'd also like to thank my sponsors. If you or someone you know is struggling with anxiety and want to know how to be 100% anxiety free in 6 weeks without therapy or drugs, Daniel Packard Anxiety Solution Program Company offers a 6 weeks system that permanently solves anxiety at an astounding 90% success rate. People who join the program only pay at the end once they have clear, measurable results. If you're interested in learning more, go to permanentanxietysolutions.com where you can book a free consultation with Daniel. Do you have high blood pressure or want to get off the meds? Doctors are amazed at what Zona Plus can do. Get a $50 discount with my code ROY. Go to zona.com/discount/ROY and you see the QR code for all my sponsors down at the end. Quality Polish manufacturer of metal products for telecommunication and workshop equipment and other metals. If you'd like a brochure, you see it in the QR code, and you just let us know if you would like a quotation shipped internationally at very competitive rates. I hope you enjoy this week's podcast.
Welcome to the Crypto Podcast. You find all our episodes on cryptopodcast.org. My guest was previously a digital nomad traveling the world, a mobile app developer. He's the author of a very good book, Hey Mom, I Bought Bitcoin, and aka the Crypto Nomad. Please welcome Lorenzo Primiterra. Did I do your name justice, or are you trying to?
You did it right. You did it right. We went with the R's.
Very good. So, I mean, I mentioned a few of the different things. You're now kind of located in Lisbon and Portugal, but you might let the listeners know a little bit more about you.
Correct. So, yes, I've been a digital nomad since 2016. And up until last year, when I decided to settle even for a little bit in Lisbon, Portugal, and we can go for the reason why even later in the show. And I've been a software developer since I can remember, since I got out of the university, mainly working with a mobile app development and also with a Tor project. So always been involved in the privacy and security space. And also been a Bitcoiner since the early days, even if back then I didn't know it. And I jumped back on the train later on, but I'll tell you a bit more about my story in a bit.
Yeah, no, brilliant. So I suppose, I mean, because I read you got in early, but I suppose your whole kind of learning curve for blockchain technology, you might kind of tell me your journey on it.
Yeah, as I describe in the book, like I got my first Bitcoin transaction was as early as 2011, because working with a lot of people in the cryptography space, not as cryptocurrency, cryptography space, Bitcoin was something that was circulating in the mailing list, and people were treating as, such a new cryptography tool. You can mine it on your computer, send it to a friend. Buying was difficult back then, even though some people were managing to do it. And I really got the technology behind it. I really got how the mining works very early on. And I was even mining and sending to friends, but I never got the real economical implication it would have on our world, because I never know how money works. I had no idea about inflation. I had no idea about fiat money. But I was in the technological side, so it was like, oh, this is a cool thing, until it gets boring or whatever, and life gets in the middle, and I completely forgot about Bitcoin for many years, until I would say, until I graduated, I started working, and then the second, probably third bull market in 2017. And in that year, the blockchain was everywhere. So you start researching again, but also you go back to Bitcoin and understanding it was the first, what's so special about it. And then also understanding, the limited supply, all the characteristics that we know that makes Bitcoin unique. And there was the haha moment. I was like, oh, okay, I got this on my hands when it was so early, but I only got one side of the coin, not the other side. Now I get the full picture. I got both the economical side and the technical side. And then later on, there was another bear market, 2019, ending in 2020. And then when I had the ideas, like, I want to explain this to somebody who knows nothing, somebody as my mother, who knows nothing about economy, nothing about digital money in general. And that's where the idea of the book started.
And like just prior to recording, I mentioned, I think it was 2014, I was first introduced to it. And the guy was trying to, I don't think a full Bitcoin at that stage, but he was trying to give me a share of one. And he was explaining to, when he mentioned wallets and everything, I didn't get it. And I just said, nah, it's okay. And then I kind of saw a lot of going on with blockchain, and I got loads of Kindle books I was reading, and I was just so baffled. And it was like, I just kind of, and I left it go. And what I would say is, because after reading your book, I wish I had something like that in my hands then, because I would have jumped on board in 2014, because the guy didn't explain it right, and just how you've broken everything down, it just makes more sense. And I think, you mentioned about your mother. I know that if I give this to my mother, she will actually understand it. You've done a very good job in actually, simplifying what majority of people can't do.
Yeah, as you said, it's about understanding the full picture of everything. Also about the history of money in general, from the really early age until today, that we already have digital money with these digital banks and stuff, and also making it in a simple way that people can understand it. And then doesn't mean that, oh, you understand it, then you go and you buy Bitcoin straight away, because I know a lot of, let's say, older people who read my book and understood it, but they say, my age doesn't allow me, I'm already retired or whatever. It's like, but they are interested to see how this is evolving, how the money that they always consider, being safe, and they're not anymore. And so it's also to instigate the curiosity on an older generation that maybe they're not interested, but they hear it a lot. So making it so simple and breaking it down in like simple pieces without going into real technology, because they don't really know how mining works. They kind of need to understand there's this process where you exchange electricity for Bitcoin, making it as easy as possible. And then, like, of course, a younger generation, it can get more into it, more technical, understanding it more how it works, and maybe starting a business on it. But for me, the idea was more making it accessible for people who may be not interested because it was just too complicated for them.
Okay. And I saw that you were in El Salvador, and obviously they've embraced it. Are they, like, for the older generation, are they trying to bring them on board as well? How are they educating people on Bitcoin?
So I was in El Salvador like 4 or 5 months after they made a legal tender. And at the beginning, it was almost, I wouldn't say everywhere, but at least in the bigger cities in the Bitcoin Beach, and there were a lot of people with their wallets accepting Bitcoin. And it was mostly younger generation, or if there is a shop was run by an older parent, and you go there and you say, can I pay in Bitcoin? And they say, oh, no. You say, so I leave, I go to the next shop. Sometimes there was the younger son, no, dad, I've got the wallet. Let's not lose this income. But what I heard that in the last year, a lot of these tablets with a wallet, they were just collecting dust, because it was just the people from outside El Salvador who went there and say, I want to pay with Bitcoin. So the experiment is kind of double-faced. The fact that they were kind of forced by the government to accept Bitcoin, they were like not really understanding it. But at the moment, there are a lot of local reality who are making a lot of courses and education for high school students, because this is the target, is the young people. The people are in high school now, that they have to learn about it and eventually educate also more people. And they're doing this Bitcoin diploma, and and this stuff. And actually, this is working. Education is what is working. A government imposing a new currency, even though it's a a solid one like Bitcoin, it wasn't working. So this is the best thing that I saw there. It's like, okay, once you give education to the people, that's what's gonna make the difference.
And like, I'm not a fan of tax because I think it's criminal, and it sneaked in. I don't know, was it 33 or whatever? But how is El Salvador tracking it, or are they what way are they doing to try to get their percentage? So if all shopkeepers and everything, with VAT and stuff like that, how are they doing it that they have full traceability, that they get what they think they deserve?
From what I know, Bitcoin there is not taxed at all, and this is what they are trying to do to like welcome more companies. I know a lot of Bitcoin only companies who moved their headquarters to El Salvador because of this non-taxable, even though there are a lot of other places, but they're trying to make it as a marketing scheme. So instead of making your company in Delaware or whatever, you create that in El Salvador. But I guess the way they implemented it, especially for the local citizen with their wallet, that is a custodial wallet, and then when you want to exchange Bitcoin to dollar and withdraw from the ATM, there's always a big spread, so you pay some fees in that way probably. Because what I saw, a lot of people were getting paid in Bitcoin and converting into dollar with a click and going to the ATM and getting dollars.
Because like with a lot of the exchanges, they use the kind of know your customer, and which can be, especially for someone who's a nomad, doesn't really have a utility bill and stuff like that. And I think there's a bit of fraud relating to that, and the straw man and things like that, but that's kind of for another kind of episode. But like, how can you actually get around? I know there's ways of going to these machines, and you can put the tether and you can take up to $1,000 or something like that without any of that. But if you're a shopkeeper or whatever, that, like, is there any way around it that they kind of know your customer where you have to give them all your information?
Well, a lot of these machines, they work even just with a phone number, but as I said, the spread is really high. Sometimes between buy and sell, there is a $5,000 spread. So that's quite high. Yeah. And using the exchange nowadays with all the regulation, it's really, really regulated, all the know your customer. The peer-to-peer market, it's just you go to your local Bitcoin club, and they're in every city. A lot of people do peer-to-peer, but it's really limited, I would say. So this is why I really would like to have places like El Salvador, like Costa Rica, the Bitcoin jungle. Also, it's in Guatemala. There are a lot of places, like in this case, like small towns, where you can just spend your Bitcoin, paying things in Bitcoin. And this is, the real purpose that Bitcoin was created, to be spent. Even though a lot of people, they say hodl, that is hold your Bitcoin. I'm more of a person who's like, I want to spend my Bitcoin. If I need more, I can always buy more. But if you spend, there is a circular economy. If I spend my Bitcoin, then you get my Bitcoin, then you can spend your Bitcoin. And then, the more they circulate, the more value they have. So whenever I can spend my Bitcoin, I prefer to do that. I can just say, like last winter, I was walking in the cold street of Berlin. Then I saw a place that was like, we accept Bitcoin. And there was a place who was doing a hot chocolate. I'm like, okay, getting in just, to be able to pay in Bitcoin. Or here in Lisbon, now I know all the places accept Bitcoin. And when I go there, I spend Bitcoin. So this is the way to give value to Bitcoin.
I suppose for those that are kind of haven't a clue how this all works, when you go into a shop and you're paying by Bitcoin and they're accepting Bitcoin, you might talk us through the whole process so that people that don't know will kind of go, oh, this is how it works.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of people, shout out to a lot of people in the Lisbon community who go just around places and they just talk them in, about Bitcoin. And sometimes they start accepting Bitcoin. There's even a dentist here who accept Bitcoin because
Wow.
somebody went there and explained them. And then it's up to them if they want to change them into fiat or using them, because let's be real, there are not many people who want to pay in Bitcoin, but maybe, you accept this one payment per month and use them as a saving, just for the future or something like that.
Do we know the percentage of people using it, how much it's increased year on year? I mean, is it still like 1%, 2%? What's the kind of percentage of people in the world that are actually using? It's not even 1%
I'm not
probably, is it?
expert on statistics, but I can say recently I've been helping develop an app called BTC Map that includes all the merchants who accept Bitcoin in the world. And then if you open the app often and you just scroll around the world, you see that some places they explode, like in Southeast Asia, there are some places who are like exploding and a lot of new shops are opening. It's just because there's a local team of people just, orange peeling, as we say, everybody. And I encourage everybody to just download BTC Map and look around you, because you may know there could be a tattoo artist who accept Bitcoin or whatever, and then you can talk to more merchants, and then they get added to the map. And I guess it's also an advantage, the first mover advantage, because if you open BTC Map and you see only 3 places around you, you may want to go to these places.
And I think it was from another video that you hit up, was or it was a blog, that there's a restaurant in Lisbon 13 years or something, like whatever length of time the guy is actually, and that's incredible.
I was there. It was not mine. It was by the Bitcoin Explorers. Yeah, but it's a guy who accepts Bitcoin since like probably 2013. Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. And with the regulation then, what's your kind of thoughts on that, especially with all the different things with FTX and all that? Like, how do you feel the regulation? Are you happy keep away from the powers that be?
Well, I guess every country has to think about its own way, its own regulation. Like here in Portugal, it was like always tax-free. At one point, it was like, yeah, if it's held in less than a year, then you're a trader, then you need to sell, then you need to pay taxes on what you sell. But it's not clear what they mean less than a year, because if I buy now, but then I sell a Bitcoin that I bought like 3 years ago, so it's not tax-free. It's like, but I'm pretty sure the regulations are gonna come, and they're gonna come more in a strict way for crypto. For Bitcoin, I don't really think it's gonna be that much regulated, because at one point it's either gonna be treated like money, like some people are gonna try to do, say, oh, this is the currency of the country El Salvador, so it cannot be treated like a investment asset. It's another currency, like it'd be the Turkish lira, or it could be treated like an asset, like gold. While the rest of the crypto sphere, I guess, is gonna be more treated like the stock market, or because there are actually company behind. But I'm really sad to say it in this case. The market is really victim of the US and what the US thinks and decide about this. And yeah, hopefully we get free from this mentality.
What's your thoughts on the likes of, say, Vanguard, BlackRock, all these kind of, in my opinion, evil corporations that kind of have shares in everything, that then they're buying and I presume holding, or else they're manipulating it with the way they kind of, because they have so much, they have the printing press basically, they work so much. What's your thoughts on them kind of getting involved in this?
Well, in this case, I guess you're referring to the spot ETF, not the derivatives and whatever it's around. I mean, if there is a spot ETF, of course, they need to hold Bitcoin, and they cannot hold IOU or kind of non-Bitcoin assets. Personally, I don't really care, because I think if you want to hold Bitcoin for your retirement, just make a cold wallet, never connect it to the internet, just send Bitcoin there, and that's your retirement. But I'm a tech person. I'm a person who research a lot, while most of the people, I'm also thinking about in the US, you know, they have this retirement fund that they manage the retirement for them. So in this case, and this will always be the majority of the population. So in this case, it's better if Bitcoin gets added to this portfolio, because Bitcoin is just the counterparty to the economy. Like in the economy, you print money, so economy grows, and everything gets more valuable, but it's not that it really gets more valuable. It's just because there is more money going around. So Bitcoin is the solid money, and I guess it should go to every portfolio, even non-believers at this point. Even if you don't believe, you want to hold some Bitcoin because you want to be proven wrong.
With the wallets, then, like say when you go into the shop and stuff like that, what's the best wallets and what exchanges would you recommend?
So personally, I always advise to keep your big holdings in any cold storage wallet, like Bitbox02, or some people prefer Ledger. Then having another hot wallet that could be like, but always a self-custody wallet. It could be like Phoenix, or there are many on the phone, where you keep some money with self-custody. And then with Lightning Network, that is this instant way of paying in Bitcoin. In this case, I don't really care, even though I have my Bitcoin node and I open the channel to pay in the Lightning Network. In this case, I don't really care to use a custodial wallet where somebody else holds my private key. In this case, the easiest is wallet of Satoshi. But you don't keep there your holding. You keep there what you would keep in your normal wallet with fiat money. How much you keep when you go out, 50 euro, 100 euro, you keep that amount. Because that means if that company fails, or if they steal your phone, something happens, it's like if they steal your wallet. So it's the same mentality. Keep your Bitcoin, keep your saving where nobody can see it. Keep the Bitcoin that you may need, in a custodial wallet where you hold your private key, and then keep the everyday activity in a non-custodial wallet when that is easier to use, but then somebody else holds your private key. And in the same way, even though a lot of people say exchanges are the worst, exchanges are bad, some people like to do trading, some people like to gamble. I cannot argue with everybody what they like to do. They are free to do whatever they want, but at the same time, just keep there what you can lose, because FTX was the second biggest exchange. They even had a stadium under their name, and look what happened. So it's like, in this case, just know that every exchange can fail at any point without warning. So if you have something there to trade and you're not trading, just withdraw everything.
And I mean, just from what's going on in the world, there's talk of a lot of banks failing as well. So
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah,
the
same
crypto
here.
might be actually safer. And where do you see it going? Like, I mean, we've seen, the different runs that it's done, but what's your thoughts on where it's going, especially with the limited supply?
Well, a lot of people are keeping an eye on the next halving, and I'm pretty sure that after the halving, nothing is gonna happen. But it's like there will always be a trigger in the market with something which is always not related to something powerful. Like last year, if I'm not mistaken, the trigger was Elon Musk accepting Bitcoin for Tesla. How many people buy Tesla? So it was a stupid trigger, but I think it was ready. The situation was ready for a bull market. And also the bear market was triggered by all this company failing. But yes, nothing to do with Bitcoin. This company were just pure frauds. So what I love to observe is more the evolution of the technology. Talking about the Bitcoin space, now I'm observing if they want to do sidechain, or if they want to do RGB2 token. In this case, would be stable coins, or all the innovation that they're trying to do. But this is never going to be a trigger for the price. And this is how the world is detached. The world of finance is detached with real innovation. The trigger for the price is always something that it doesn't make sense, something that is technology-wise doesn't, it's not an innovation, like Elon Musk talking about Bitcoin or Dogecoin or all these things that they don't really matter. But if you talk about price, I always think that it will always go up, but if you zoom out, because otherwise it goes up and down, up and down, up and down, but the trajectory is going up because it's a sound money. It's what sound money is supposed to do. But it's not ready for now. It's not ready, to be stable and counteract the inflation like other assets. But if you zoom out, it is, and it will be. It's just you need to understand there's volatility, and there's gonna be volatility.
Excellent. So I saw in your book that you have, like, because there's a lot of controversy over the founder, and I saw you've got Hal Finney. I've never heard that name, so you might let me know what's that? Who's he? What's that about?
So Hal Finney is the person who received the first Bitcoin transaction from Satoshi. Is a supercomputer nerd who was cited in white paper, and he was in the, let's say, in the cypherpunk scene in the 90s as well, with Nick Szabo, who is still alive, and he could be another founder. And probably is the only one who knew Satoshi or know who he was, even though who is dead. He had the degenerative disease. And but my idea is that Satoshi was a group of people, most probably, or was a pseudonym, but Satoshi will never be released to the world now, the real identity. Because it's either he's dead, or it's a group of people, or it's just not worth it for the world to know, It's not adding anything to the narrative. And we have to live with this saying that we'll never know who created Bitcoin. And I consider this as a feature, because when you look at a lot of altcoins, there's a founder, sometimes a group, sometimes it's one person, like a dictator person, but sometimes it's a foundation. And in this case, regulators know who to knock on the door when they want to do something, when they want to change the code. In the case of Bitcoin, there is nobody. And it was really funny to see the Greenpeace campaign to change the code, and everybody answer like on Twitter, like, oh yeah, call to the CEO of Bitcoin, because there is no CEO, you cannot change the code. And even if you do, you created a fork of Bitcoin that is not Bitcoin. So this is something that probably will never be relieved about the identity of Satoshi. It's good to create content on YouTube. There are a lot of people speculating, but it will probably never be revealed.
And because I just recently, and I had seen a picture of him, but Dr. Craig S. Wright, that he's kind of claiming, and apparently he's won court cases and he's got all the patents and everything. I mean, have you heard of him?
I don't know if I can say what I think, because I don't want to get sued. They sued basically the entire Bitcoin space, but it's definitely not Satoshi. He has no idea, and it's in white paper. You just look at the video of him talking about Bitcoin, and you really understand he has no idea of what in the white paper. So it's, it's clearly a fraud, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's just people with a big ego. They wanna, push whatever coin they make, and that's it. Yeah.
And I believe, is there like 1 million coins from the founder that were never used as well? So
that's something also I talk about in my book. It's estimated that the 1 million of Bitcoin, of the 21 million, are Satoshis, but there is not a wallet with 1 million Bitcoin. There was a way some people tried to do some analysis on the blockchain to understand where the first mined Bitcoin went, because of course, at the beginning, if there were like 5 or 10 people mining, one was Satoshi. And the block reward was 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. So there were a lot being generated. So some people try to, let's say, color some coin and see if they didn't move for enough time, they say, okay, this may be Satoshi coin, and there is an estimate of 1 million that could belong to Satoshi. But as I said, there is not a wallet with 1 million. It's like some people were trying to estimate that these were Satoshi based on some on-chain analysis, even though it could be Satoshi, it could be also some early people, you know, mined Bitcoin and forgot about the wallet and threw away the hard drive. But yeah, even though there were some of these, of course, they are Satoshis, but at this point, I really think that they're never going to be moved, because most probably private key lost, and some of them who, you know, they are Satoshi, you know, it's just gonna generate a big earthquake in the sphere. So I just believe at this point that there are 20 million Bitcoin, not 21 million.
And with the mining then, because obviously they're rewarded for the mining, because obviously they've got the, you know, the equipment cost, the energy costs and everything. But I believe, is it 2040 that this kind of splitting or whatever,
Yeah.
where they're, so what happens after that? What happens after 2040? How do the miners get rewarded then? Or is it just that they take a fee from it then? And will it be a fee that they'll be taking from the transaction?
So from the beginning, there was 50 Bitcoin every 4 years. The amount of Bitcoin that are included in a block for as a fee for the miner get half. So it was 50, 25, 12.5 and 6.25 and half and half. So this means that a miner gets half of the reward. And what it means, like, if the price goes up, then you're fine. You still can, you know, pay your electricity. If the price stays sideways or goes down, then a miner has two ways of dealing with that. One is shutting down, because if you pay, I don't know, 10,000 per electricity per month, and then your reward in Bitcoin is 5,000, then you're not profitable. It's a business, simple as that. Or you have a way to find a cheaper electricity. And this is what now is really driving this green narrative in Bitcoin, because cheaper electricity doesn't mean that you need to pay less, because, you know, at one point you cannot pay, you know, less than zero. It's just finding renewable sources or green electricity that you can pay less. But not only that, there are a lot of projects who are aiming to pay zero. And you can ask me, how can you pay zero for electricity? One example is some mining farm, if I'm not mistaken, in Texas, that they install a mining farm near some geothermal electricity plants that they power the city. But when at night, for example, the city needs less power, they turn on the mining equipment and start generating Bitcoin, because that electricity would have been wasted anyway. And when the city needs power, you shut off the mining. So that's a way to store the excess electricity in Bitcoin. So more and more of these initiatives that will be, you know, created, it will just put out of business people who are paying for electricity. And that means people are using non-renewable sources of paying a lot. So I guess halving, less reward, but you need to find a way to find cheaper electricity, but also means less Bitcoin going around. And in theory, the price should go up, because if more people want it, of course.
And with like altcoins then, like, because I mean, there's rug pulls. There's so many different coins out there. I mean, at one stage I was saying there was 8,000, and I was told there was 11,000. There's probably 20,000. I don't even know how many there is. It just, you know, it's like constant increasing. Like, is there other ones that you think are worth kind of investing in?
So also in this case, I wrote an article that it was kind of to trigger a lot of different people. It was called "Altcoin are not a scam, but they're not a Bitcoin competitor either." Because my point of view that Bitcoin is money, Bitcoin is trying to do something to revolutionize the way we see money. And for me, altcoins, they are tech companies who are trying to develop a new way of technology, or using blockchain, using whatever technology they want. And a lot of them can be viewed as they are innovating, but you never know on the long run if they're going to survive. It's like, the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s. Amazon survived, but how many failed? But I also, as a technological person, I'm not a person who just saying everything is a shit coin. I don't want to even look on it, because in the technological way, I want to research. I want to research why they're moving to proof of stake or why they're using this technology. Because, for example, the zero knowledge technology that they're testing out on Ethereum is something that I was always curious about. And maybe they're using it there and then it will be integrated in Bitcoin one day. So as a technological person, I always want to understand. As an investor, it's different. As an investor, that's, mostly risky and it's different. Yeah, different than Bitcoin.
And just finally, because you've been to Bitcoin Beach, I believe it's called, in El Salvador. So, like, what's it like being there? What's the kind of vibe? Is it all nomads that are there, or are there a lot of locals that are embracing this as well?
Oh, I guess it's a bubble in El Salvador. But Salvador is much more than Bitcoin Beach. Bitcoin Beach is just a place for surfers and where they organize meetup, but it's very small and limited, I would say. And it's just because they started the Bitcoin law started from a school that was created there. But El Salvador is much more than Bitcoin Beach, and everybody wants to go. I encourage them not to just to be locked in Bitcoin Beach and spend all the time there, but really rent a car and drive around, because now it's much safer than what like 5-6 years ago. So even though it's not the super safe, like Southeast Asia safe, but it's still South America. So be careful, but it's much safer than 5 years ago.
Okay, brilliant. Listen, Lorenzo, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
It's more like surfing and less nightlife in Bitcoin Beach. So if you wanna wake up early and surf, that's what you like.
Well, yeah, I like surfing, so why not? So, listen, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. I mean, the book is there, so you might let people know where's the best place to find you.
So you can find me on Instagram, Lorenzo Primi, and Twitter, where I shit post and sometimes I post something useful, Crypto Lorenzo. And yeah, these are the two most social that I use.
Okay, perfect. So I'll make sure I'll put the links both on the audio and the video, as well as your Amazon link as well. So people, because I know it's in Italian and English, of course. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this book for me is one of the best things that people told me they would like to give for Christmas. So wait a couple of months and that could be a good Christmas present for your friends or family.
Exactly. So thank you very much, Lorenzo.
Thank you.
So that's all for the Crypto Podcast. You'll find all our episodes on thecryptopodcast.org. And make sure, if you get the book, give them a 5-star rating, because it really helps. It'll get more people to see it. Until next week, take care.
So I hope you enjoyed this week's podcast. You'll find everything about me on bio.link/podcaster with all my podcasts, and you'll find it, you see in the QR code in the graphic that's shown. I'd like again to thank my sponsors. So if you or someone you know struggling with anxiety and want to know how to be 100% anxiety free in 6 weeks without therapy or drugs, Daniel Packard's Anxiety Solution Program company offers a 6-week system that permanently solves anxiety at an astounding 90% success rate. People who join the program only pay at the end once they have clear, measurable results. If you're interested in learning more, go to permanentanxietysolutions.com, where you can book a free consultation with Daniel. Do you fight blood pressure and or want to get off the meds? Doctors are amazed at what Zona Plus can do. You can get a $50 discount with my code ROY, zona.com/discount/ROY. And you'll see it in the QR code as well as Daniel's QR code. Quality manufacturer of metal products for telecommunication and workshop equipment and other metal materials. You see the brochure there in the QR code, and let me know if you would like a quotation, shipped internationally at very competitive price. I'd like to thank all my sponsors and also all my listeners. Be sure to give me a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends, really helps. And I also have a video on how to give a 5-star rating, because a lot of people have wrote to me asking me that they don't know how to do that. Until next week, take care.